All right, we're back to one of our key influencer interviews today. I'm very excited to have actually my broker. I love the fact that I'm saying my broker, somebody I've known for a long while. I'm so excited for us to interview and talk to Dave Tina Jr. on the podcast today, Matt.
Yeah, so join us on the WBNL Podcast.
This is the Wandering But Not Lost WBNL Podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome everyone to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 233, and you can find all of our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, before we jump in and introduce Dave, we're entering Q2 of 2023, and it makes me have to circle back around and ask how you did on the 9 and 90 because you talked about that in the beginning of the year. So give us a little update.
We did 9 and 60.
I love it.
Okay. And I took it off the wall because that was too low now. Now I'm looking at it right now. We're doing a lot better now. We got another 3 or 4 deals that we're about ready.
Very good. So 9 and 60, 9 and 90. That's very good. And how'd you do that, Jen O'Brien? You did the daily.
I did the daily.
Right?
That's right. Did the daily, man. I'm doing the daily. I was doing the daily before we jumped on here.
That's
this morning.
Great way to start the year. We talk about writing down your goals. Sticking to your plan.
Sure.
You did it like every day because you would call and we would talk about that, and it's pretty awesome. So this is a good example of do as we say and as we do.
That's right.
Right.
All right. And I'm super jazzed to have Dave talk a little bit about his progressions since I've known him and where he's at now. So let's bring him in. So David, that's who it is. Good old Dave. Tina, listen, I got to say, when I was saying at the beginning of the show, I never thought when I first met you that I would be sitting here saying my broker, one of my broker owner, but really the broker of record of my company that I'm in now, which is Urban Nest Realty. The story is amazing, really. Opened in 2012, 465, really amazing agent. It's really, truly, the brokerage you've created is exactly what you and your dad set out to do, Dave. And that is to create a family. We call it the nest, and there's so many great people that are there. So I'm happy to be part of the nest. I'm excited that you are my broker owner. It's crazy. I love the story. So I want to turn it over to you. We want to say welcome, and we want to just get you to tell us the backstory. If people don't know, that's where we are now. Plus you got this whole other cool coaching piece that I want you to talk about, but take it away and tell us a bit of your story.
So, my story is intertwined and interlocked with my father's, right? So, my parents got divorced really early in my life, 3 years old. So my dad raised me. My mom moved to Texas, and we had this great Long Island life. And my dad was a natural, and he just basically took this rags to riches story of like not much, no real business background. He was a fireman in New York, and he was able to, with a lot of pressure, take some risks and improve our life. And I'm very observant. So I watched him, I was as much of an extrovert I seem to be. I'm more of an introvert because I'm always processing, and I watched him my whole life and watched him do the right thing. So not to jump around too much, but I did really good in high school, academically and athletically. And I had a bunch of scholarship offers to play football around the country. And my dad wanted me to stay and play at Hofstra University on Long Island. And, life works out weird. And I met a girl who fell in love, and her family moved her out to Vegas. So I gave up my scholarships and my football to move out to Las Vegas in 1995. And
I didn't know this.
Yep. I was going to walk on to UNLV, and I didn't. I didn't do it. So one of my regrets, I don't have many, is just to see how I would have, done on the field. Cause all my, Al Bundy stories of retiring my football number and all that good stuff. But, so here I am in Vegas in 1995, lasted 3 months with the girl. I broke up with her. I'm barely 18 years old. And, I'm at UNLV, and my dad would visit me every month. And he was born in Queens, but he became like Mr. Long Island. I'm like, my dad will never move out here. And 2 years after I I was here, he moved. 1997, he followed me out.
Wow.
And we thought that was, he was kind of like the semi-retirement. He was actually my age, I think, right? 25-ish years, 28 years ago. He was about 45. And I was going to UNLV to be a teacher. And he was like, I don't know if I'm going to do real estate anymore. He did it a little bit in New York because he did a lot of things. But he was successful, but he never put all of his time into it. And I'm like, do what you want. And he finally got his license, did it a year. He did better than he ever did in New York. And his second year, he doubled that. His third year, he doubled that. And here I was, finishing my degree to be a teacher. And I don't know if you know, but Clark County, they pay $28,000 a year to brand new teachers. And I'm like, Dad, there's no way I'm doing this. He's like, just finish your degree. You get benefits. He still had that fireman mentality, you got to take care of your base. And I said to him, I finished the degree and I did 6 months teaching, but I said, Dad, this is one of the few times in my life I am actually going to take the advice of your actions over your words. Because I said, every time I've seen you take a risk in life, our life has changed. And I'm going to, I already had my license because he made sure I had it just to have it. But I'm like, I'm going to go full time into mortgages and real estate because I don't want nothing given to me. And so I did mortgages for about 2-3 years. Super successful in that. I was making over $100K a year right off the bat. In 2000, well, who wasn't, right? In 03, 04, and 05. And then I said, nah, I kind of want to be top of the food chain. I'm going to go into real estate, right? And by the time 2004 or 5 hit, 6, and we were at Realty Executives at the time, I was doing about 5 to 8 a month on my own deals.
Wow.
So when the market shifted, there was a lot of transition from that company, good company, but without naming names, I don't think they handled the transition of the market as well as it could be. So my father and he hates change. I'm like, let's give something else a shot. We went over to a company, Realty One, and about 35 agents followed us over the day we left. And normally they make you wait a month to leave. And they were like, no, you could leave now. So we went over there. It was his infancy stages. We were there maybe a month. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And so we met with the owner and we're like, we're going to leave. And the owner offered my father a position to take it over. And so then he
grew it.
Yeah. He right off the bat.
That's what happened.
And as how do I come into play? I was like, I have no interest in working for anybody ever again. I wanted to just be, an entrepreneur. I was doing really well in real estate, even during the downtime. And because him and I have the same name and we had offices right next to each other, it got so busy so fast. What happened was people would start coming to me.
Yep.
That I was him. And I'm like, you got the wrong Dave, but here's what I would do. And then I started getting a following of my own. They offered me my own branch. I built that up to about 200 agents. And one of the things I was most proud about that branch is, even though we were the smallest, we did the most deals per agent in that branch, which you know well, Jen, because that ended up being your branch down the line.
That Rainbow one? Yes. And then you went to the Green Valley?
Yeah. Well, I took a little sabbatical. My dad convinced me to come back. And then
that's right.
I'm out. And so in around 2010, 11, I knew it wasn't going to happen anymore. And I knew I was ready to do my own thing. But my father wasn't ready. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to another company? And my dad's the GM of one company. And so out of respect and adventure, Angie and I were going to move to San Diego. And I had a little bit of money saved. And I kind of wimped out at the last minute because it's so expensive. We had a California license, still do. And we ended up going to Texas and did like North Dallas, Plano, Frisco area. My mom lives there. And tried that out for about 4 or 5 months. And that wasn't really.
I forgot about this part, man. I remember you went and did that.
I did.
That's right.
And then my father, about right before his 60th birthday, he came and visited us. And he was like, "You were right. You know, our values are not aligned, and I'm ready to do this if you come back."
Nice.
And you gotta love my father. He's like, "You're gonna own it. You're gonna put up all the money. You're gonna take all the personal guarantee." And I was like, "There's no other way I would want to have it."
Love it.
And that was 10, almost 11 years ago. And we took everything we learned from our other experiences and tried to build a better version of this segment.
Mm-hmm.
And we have grown and evolved over this last decade, right? And, you know, as of we stand today, we're not the number one producing company, but I don't know how it is in the rest of the country, but in this city, all the broker metrics and all the title companies rank by branch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were excited back in the day when we did it for Realty One, when we become the number one branch in all of Nevada.
Exactly.
So last year we became at Urban Nest, this building that we bought, the number one branch in all of Nevada. So
that's a really amazing, cool side benefit of merging those offices. But that's a really cool part of your story too, is that you went from having some locations, but actually investing in a building, which is a great location, center part of town that services the whole valley and the agents. And it's a real state-of-the-art office, to be honest. It's beautiful, right? The whole second floor of this building. Yep. Right on West Sahara. That's awesome. It's a showpiece. It really looks great.
Hey Dave, I'm curious. How did you guys come up with the name Urban Nest? I think it's such a cool name for a real estate company. Is there a story behind that, or did it just come up?
No, there is. When I was in Texas, you know, we had a newborn, Angie and I, so we'd walk all day, every day, and we kept running into like urban this and urban that. And I'm kind of like a nerd, and I read a lot. So at that time, it was this push back to like cities. They were kind of having like a revitalization. It was downtown in Las Vegas with Tony Hsieh. So everything was like urban back then. And I was watching that show, $1 Million Listing. And Ryan Serhant worked for a company called Nest Seekers. And I thought that was the coolest name, Nest Seekers. Yeah. And, but I didn't want, I couldn't copy that. Right. So I was like, oh, just do Nest. And I was like, Nest. So I said Urban Nest. And I immediately liked it. And I wanted to be different. Like I wanted to differentiate. It was realty everything. And you couldn't tell the difference between these companies. And I knew it would be a little polarizing, but I wanted to take a stand of who we were right off the bat and say, this isn't going to be the same as everybody else.
It's very cool. I mean, it's very contemporary, you know, it's a very cool name. That there's another company that was in, I don't think they're around anymore. It was in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. It was called Nook, which is another cool name, right? It's like those, because they absolutely describe what your business is, but it's not the whole realty thing. It's very cool. Yes. So good job on that. It's very cool. Well, awesome. And then one other thing that you've moved into, and I've been watching how your journey has been around motivating and coaching, and really, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because obviously you're running this company. You have your dad over here too, but you're really at the helm of it. You got some great broker managers that help run the company. So I feel like you're in your lane. You really love that part of it too. So you can tell us a little bit about that, because you're doing, besides just doing additional training and motivating the team at Urban Nest, I feel like that's a passion for sure, right?
100%. There's two main reasons why that leadership part, that coaching part, is really my flow state. Like it's that I don't know if you ever heard of a thing called Ikigai. It's a Japanese Venn diagram. The original, the one everyone's really familiar with is the 3 circles that intersect, and in the middle is what you should do, right? What you're passionate about, what you're good at, and what you can make money at. The Ikigai adds in a 4th Venn or circle. So it's 2 circles on top of each other, 2 circles on the side, and then there's one spot where all 4. And what they add in is what impact you can make, what the world needs, right?
That's cool.
So there's like a purpose, and I call that flow state where everything intersects. So the two reasons why, number one is I think we're most equipped to coach from the things we have been through in our life, right? And we all have our stories, and we all have our ups and downs, and we all have our growth curves of life, right? So I'm a seeker. Like, I go down the rabbit hole. I go to all the courses and the therapy and the energy healing, you name it, I'll try it, right? So I feel like I have a lot to share of my own personal experiences. So it's kind of like I'm not even teaching from theory. I'm teaching from, all right, let me throw myself under the bus first in vulnerability. Let's, let me invite people to, maybe get the permission to feel like they're not alone and to have a shared experience, right? So there's some freeing thing about that, and there's some connection that I think you just can't duplicate. So that's part of my purpose and meaning, right? Like, I just want to do more with that. The other one is, I think you have to re-fall in love with what you do, right?
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage, right? Or any relationship. There's life cycles of a business, there's life cycles of a marriage, and you have to continually reframe and re-identify what you're going through, or it'll get stale. And people are so afraid to change, and they'll wait till they have no choice but to change to actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm not going to have the same relationship with Urban Nest for the rest of my life. Like, there has to be growth. There has to be a bigger purpose. It's not just about more agents and more transactions and money. I mean, that's definitely a byproduct of it. But what do my father and I do that really makes a difference? And, my father's a natural, so he doesn't really think deeply about this. He just does it. That's the beauty of him, right?
Yeah.
But I do it and then think about it and then share it, right? And what I've noticed with him, because, I am observant with him and with us, is that the biggest thing I got from him is he leaves almost every situation he's in better than he found it. And so I was like, this has to be more than real estate. I have to treat my agents the way I expect them to treat their clients. Like, there's got to be a bigger connection, and there's got to be a feeling of like, I've contributed to their lives in some way. And regardless of how long they're with us, whether it's a year or 5 years, I hope that this chapter of their life, they walk out of it and go, Dave and Dave were good guys, and that was a good experience in my life. And that has kind of shifted my relationship with Urban Nest. And it, I'm not the guy you're going to have to talk to about, hey, I need comps, or how do you fill out this SRPD? Like, I've evolved out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that has allowed us to grow,
and
still love what we do.
That's brilliant what you just said. I gotta say, because it's where I've come in my life with being broker, coach, trainer, and back full circle to sell. And I'm a handful of people that I'll reach out, that people reach out to coach. That is the key, especially in the business a minute, right, Matt? I'm talking about it all the time. It's helping people figure out how to fall back in love with the business, but to do what they're passionate about, the part that they're passionate about, and or get out. But what you're doing right now with a lot of these people that are coming in now is really transformative, because in my experience, and you just nailed it, it is not just a bunch of X's and O's and this is how you go do real estate. You've got to get your mind right. We're always constantly changing. We're in another, and as a broker, when I was a broker, it's how do you keep everybody motivated, and because they don't all think like you, to be able to adjust to or stay ahead of the change. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing there, helping people, with, you're running a couple programs, but how do you impact your agents to be aware that the market's always going to change and you can't sit back when the majority of people, Dave, as we know, we can break them down into their personality styles and know that there's always going to be the handful that are out there figuring it out and a whole bunch of people in the middle. So what are you getting excited about there, trying to help people see it? Because you can't change them. They have to want to change. So You're bringing the stuff to say, you can listen if you want, it could make a difference. So what's some advice there, or share some little bits that you're doing there that you're seeing some success? I know you are, because I can see it.
it's a great question. I'm thinking I'm trying to active listen and not forget my train of thought. So two major things, right? One, you got to create the environment. And I'm a big fan of the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? And, one of my favorite new books is Atomic Habits. I've seen James Clear speak, and he speaks so much about how environmental design can change habits, change your life. That's what's so actually amazing of what we do in real estate, like the environmental change from one place to another. So with buying this building and renovating the top floor, and that was just step one. Step two was actually putting together a program that people could actually reason why to come into the office, to make it a third space, to plug in.
Mm-hmm.
If I could get people in here just a little bit, just enough that the window opens a little bit for it, that we can influence them, right? To plug in a little bit more. That's step one. You got to create the environment. You don't have to have a physical location anymore. You don't have to come here for any reason other than, you know what, I'll pop in, maybe they use the conference room, use the printers, hang out. That's why we made it look like a WeWorks plug-in. So environment to me matters so much, because there's not much difference between any real estate companies at all. But the people at the company, the leadership, and who the leadership attracts, because I believe you attract who you are, that is a big differentiator. So the environment has to be right. Some people call culture environment, right? So that's number one. Right. Number two, which I think, Jan, you're hitting on big, as being in your position so long. It can be frustrating because you end up wanting it more than they want it, and that cannot happen. Right. So I have to take my own advice. And my advice to them is, in this market, in any market, is control what you can control and let go of everything you can't control. Now, that's not really a real estate thing. That is a life lesson.
Sure.
Right? And, my own journey, I get in the biggest trouble when I try to white knuckle and control the things that I will never be able to control, right? Like, if I could try to control the market or the interest rates or what other people think or what my agents are going to do or not, like, I have to just almost then be like, the universe is going to take care of this. I need to only stop right here. So then on the other end, it's not just letting go of what you can't control. It's at the same time counterintuitively trying to control what you can control.
And take some action somehow.
Routines, habits, actions, right? So when I come down, I don't really come down hard, but when I hold my agents accountable, it's on their actions, not their results. I don't care. The results will show up. We can't control it. It is what it is. But, don't get mad about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Right.
Right on.
Yep.
But, and you just nailed it, man. Because of and I've told you this several times, your presence is different since I've known you. You've gone through this journey. We all go through this journey, and but you've really, transformed yourself physically. You've transformed, just where you're at. Maybe it's just the way it happens as we grow, but not everybody does this, Dave. So, kudos, because it's making a difference, because if you're at the helm and that's where you're at, everything flows. We can look back at our previous shared experiences, and that is a true statement. Yeah. Whoever's here, that's where it flows. That's what you attract. And, that's why I'm here, because that's the bottom line. It's an alignment. It works, and it's a pleasure to, and I want to say one other thing. Post-COVID has been a challenge for broker owners and for businesses to get people to, and frankly, it's who we're working with. Like, I'm out selling to people that are remote workers, and things are changing. The way people like to interact has been on a trajectory of change now, but to try to get people back in, it does make a difference, because when I do come into the office and I have that energy, people like the energy. It does impact them, and they're not so isolated. So kudos to try to figure out how to keep getting people to do that, even though for as long as we've been in the business, all of us, it's not everybody's hanging out in the office anyway, because they wouldn't be doing any business. But to find ways to have them come in and get that, come into a training session or one of your coaching sessions, or just experiencing working in there is agents need that sometimes. So you got to keep trying that, and well done, because you've created space that allows people to feel good about coming in.
I think, we're rapidly becoming a digital world.
Yep.
But there needs to be, not even needs to be, I think there's a craving for analog. I think there's a craving for connection.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people are looking for, especially post-COVID, for a reconnection. And it doesn't have to be front and center, but it needs to be this. Like, there's a study, and I don't know if I was blown away by this, that people are actually, your brain cannot tell the difference of this conversation than in person, which is blew me away, right? So what the three of us are doing right now is connecting with each other, and then whoever watches this, right? And so that's beautiful that this digital platform is allowing us to have scale and reach as many people as possible. But we still need to be real. The quality of our communication and our message needs to be authentic. It needs to break through this screen. And that's why people watch, because they feel alone and they want to feel like they're part of something. They want to feel like they're part of a tribe. And it's just a very isolationist, individualistic world we live in. And I believe to future-proof our business, this is going to become one of the main currencies of the future. As we get further away from it, the people who could do this are going to win. So
right on. Matt, let's get Dave to go through our famous Ask 5 from his perspective, because I think there's a couple great questions in here. I know he'll I
feel like this is a game.
We'll like his insight.
Yeah, so the rapid fire. Yeah, the first question we always throw out is really about your database and helping agents better master their SOI and their past clients. So really, what is the best idea that you have for how you actually manage your database?
Or maybe Angie's version of this.
Yeah.
Well, don't tell her, but I'm kind of the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes. So I've renamed this.
Okay.
Date your business.
Hey.
So treat it like you're trying. I call it a seduction game, and not necessarily in that way, but like, what would you do when you're dating someone? Like, you're so attuned to somebody when you're dating them. It's different than, let's say, marriage. You get a little complacent and you don't appreciate as much. I hate that that's the things that go with dating and marriage as far as what we think of. But when you write a personal note, like, make it mean something. When you make a phone call, don't just have the ask, like, really care. Like, when you send a gift, make sure it matters. Be consistent. So I'm relationship based all the way, but I've tweaked it. I call it Date Your Business. So I anchor it in. Even the CRM, which everyone is like, oh yeah, CRM. I renamed it the Cash Ready Machine. You got to keep making deposits in there, right? Like, something to play with, right? Awesome. So, and I'll say, don't ask for withdrawals from your Cash Ready Machine unless you have made deposits, right? You'll get overdrawn.
That's awesome.
Very good.
All right. Date your business. I have never heard that. I love it. Okay. Beautiful. That is brilliant. It totally makes sense.
That's awesome.
This question is, okay, so why we ask this question is, all these years of coaching people, everybody always says my business comes from my database or my sphere or my past clients. And I'm like, all right, so what else do you do? Like, my whole coaching is about pick another area that you're passionate about so you can fill the gap. The Cash Ready Machine.
Yep,
I love that.
Yep.
And can you share any top tactic that you might be sharing with agents now that is something that's not just dating your business? I mean, ultimately our goal is find some ways to connect with people, to put them into the database and then nurture that. But anything there? What's your top tactic?
Yeah, you got to swipe left and right a little bit. So you got to build your database.
Yeah, exactly. How do you build it?
Right. Like, yeah, you got to make it rain. You got to bring new people in. I still believe that everything you could possibly want is around you, but yes, new business. It's more about the consistency of the things I'm going to tell you than the actual things, because being in my position, I've seen everything work, regardless of what it is, as long as people commit to it at least a year. Obviously, no matter what you choose, don't give up unless you've given it a full 12 months and committed, because people give up 3 feet from gold all the time. They put in all the front loaded work and the money, and then they bail. Personally, sphere of influence, direct mail. So we do luxury. So direct mail still works. You kind of have to do it in luxury. Social media, I'm posting 2 posts a day, original content on 4 platforms. And I believe email campaign is still one of the most underutilized and highest return on investment that people could do. Now, that's a lot, right? But those 3 things. And if you're going to use I'm not a huge fan of online leads because I like controlling the real estate of where I work, right? You can control your emails, you can control your content, you can control the direct mail. But if you can do online leads, just make sure it's prioritized correctly and get there first, be first, right? Before it gets saturated. And then play the long game where, your cost of acquisition may be 30, 40% the first time, but if you nurture them and put them in your funnel, then the second time around is maybe a 15% cost of acquisition and they become your clients. And then you can turn off that stream whenever you want, and they don't own you and you own them. Use them for who they are, right?
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's the key, man. You got to stay committed to the thing. And this is where I keep tying in. Find out, do something that you're going to get up every day and you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to do it. And you just named it. We could sit here and name 20 things that people could do.
Easy.
All right. That could get them in front of folks. But if you don't like them, you're not going to do it. Right. I love that.
And consistency.
And when they're newer, they got to figure it out. Right. When a new agent is in the business, they don't know what they like yet. They don't know what they're good at. So that's all part of training them.
So you hit the nail on the head, right? I have 4 different levels. We teach the agent of where they're at, right?
Yep.
Where they're at. And the brand new agent is just hustle phase. Like, throw it all against the wall.
Yeah, see what works.
Right? Like,
And see what works, but see what your niche is. See where you're good. It takes a little minute for you to figure that out, and you got to try it all to do it. I love it. Okay, what's next? Number 3.
Your energy, Dave, is awesome, and your self-awareness is you're at a level way higher than most people probably will ever achieve. But here's a question for you. I'm curious to see how you'll answer this. What holds you back?
Oh, just one thing. Me, right? And it's no matter how bold, inspiring, and all these things that I never would even classify myself. I was at a CEO thing the other day. We did an exercise where everyone in the room has to do one word about you, and I was like so proud and embarrassed with the words that they were saying about me, right? And but I know it's always comes down to I ask 3 questions in coaching that I ask myself. Who am I? What do I want? And what am I willing to sacrifice? Like, who do I need to become? Right. So if that doesn't work, I may say, what could you do if you could not fail? Right. And I really get clear. And yeah, I am self-aware. I'm a very, I'm a deep thinker. But even the other day, I was getting some dental work done and my mouth was so numb that I couldn't talk. I was like, oh, right. And in my brain, I was like, imagine I couldn't talk anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have to go share my message, my truth with the world. I can't stop. And, as far as where I'm bringing this home is, I think I have, we all have a fear of giving up the good for the great. Yep. And, we get comfortable. And I know that next step, there is a little bit of, oh, what if I fail? So I think we all have that. So I hold me back.
Awesome. All right. And this one is, you mentioned Atomic Habits. I've had that book forever. I need to go revisit it. You mentioned that, but this is anything. What or who has inspired you? Or maybe something that's currently inspiring you that you think, you do a lot of reading. So I'd love to hear what you feel about that. What your answers to that would be.
The things that inspire me the most, and I think one of the things that's changed my life the most is people who overcome great obstacles, right? That hero's journey. And I remember I was at a Tony Robbins event. I was young, and it's funny. You spent a lot of money. I really didn't have anywhere to use any of this knowledge yet. I didn't realize 10 years out I would need it, and it would come when I called, right, for it. But he kept talking about, like, the greater the obstacle, or the bigger the obstacle, the greater the hero. So when people, and guess what? We're all heroes and we all have our obstacles, whether they're out in front of anyone, like, we're still going through our own stuff, but we're the heroes of our own journey. So when I see, or I'm able to have a conversation that's vulnerable and real, and I hear people's story, that is the most inspiring thing. And it juices me up. It fills me up more than anything else in this world. So, as far as people, my father, just watching him, because he, I have my longest relationship, even knowing all his faults, some of the things that he's done that I know isn't a front, isn't, any BS, it's real. That's inspiring to me. But the hero's journey, for sure.
Right on.
Yeah, we'll wind this up by asking the question I think everyone wants to know, right? So what is your best advice for agents to thrive not only this year but really throughout their career and beyond?
I mean, be coachable. Put your ego aside. You never arrive, right? I don't care who you are. There's another ceiling. There's another level. So you have to keep learning. And more so than anything, do the work, of course, be consistent. These are the easy ones. But take care of what you can control. And, make your business, make your life evergreen and built for any season, because you're going to need it. And I think if you can control the things that are not business related, like your physical health and your mental health, that stuff will play more of a part in your business and show up more than anything. So I was like, a morning routine isn't just some meme or some fun thing. A morning routine is a contract with yourself that the more you show up, right, the more you'll believe in yourself, the more you'll trust yourself, the more you'll have confidence in yourself, the more you'll have certainty in yourself. And then when you have to bet on yourself and invest in your business, you will be worthy to bet on yourself. So I'm like, yeah, going for a 1 hour walk in the morning is actually going to make you a ton of money. And then have some fun along the way. No one said this has to be serious all the time. If you go make a life, you'll go make a business. So, yeah.
Dang.
I could not agree with you more on that. Let me tell you, brother.
Yeah.
We are like, I'm like pointing at myself because I don't know how much I talk about the morning routine, and I know what you're saying is the truth. And this is where I'm failing in my life right now. So whatever. Thank you for inspiring me on that, Dave. Thank you.
Just do one thing. Just like, I used to be like, oh, you need 10 things in your business. Do these 10 things every day. Do these 10 things a month.
No, just do one thing.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man, for taking the time. This has been a really inspirational talk.
Absolutely.
I'm motivated. Our group, our folks will be motivated. So look, we always put, if you want to know more about anything, Dave, send it. In fact, if we haven't done this, let's make sure if you have anything that's beyond Urban Nest that we get it. We'll post it in our show notes and stuff. If there's business coaching and things that you do, I don't know if you have openings or anything for that, but anyway, we'll have ways that people can get in touch with you if they want to talk to you. Okay.
Yeah. I think the best is follow me on social.
Yeah. We'll put all your social stuff up. Yeah. Right. You've got some great stuff going with your coaching on social. It's cool. So we'll get all that to you, or make sure that we have all that so we can post it. All right. That's it. Matt, any last thoughts?
No, it was always inspirational. I love talking to people. And this is, I hear so much about you and your dad, Dave. So from Jan.
I learned a lot about Dave today. Woohoo.
Yeah, but so much I didn't know. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, you can find what was that?
Thanks for having me. You guys are great. It's good seeing you, Matt and Jan. One day we'll talk about our story. I think it's a beautiful story. So
absolutely.
You can find all of the show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com, episode 233. We'll have all that information there about Dave. And don't forget, as we've been talking the last few weeks, we do have our real estate sales builder certification course right around the corner. Jan, we've said February and then March, and now it's spring, but we're in spring now, so we've got to get that taken care of. If you want information about that certification program, you can go over to our website, WBNLcoaching.com. There's a form you can fill out. It'll take you to a landing page. It'll give you a lot more information about the Sales Builder program and our upcoming certification course as well. So you can get that over at WBNLcoaching.com. I guess that's it, everyone. Get up, get out, live the life you dreamed, and be forever wandering but not lost.